where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Hey UK Bills Mafia, this is Christian Wade of your Buffalo Bills. This is the Red, White and Buffalo Blues, a UK Bills podcast with your hosts, Matt and Alex. Let's go Buffalo! Woo!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red, White and Buffalo Blues, a UK Bills podcast, Bills news with a UK twist. It's an early morning recording for this episode, so you've got a very tired Matt and I think a very, very dead tired Alex. Alex, you alive? We're going to be able to get through this, all right?
I just drove 9 hours from the northernmost bit of Scotland back home yesterday. So I'm going to be clearing my throat a lot because I'm not quite awake. I haven't washed out the overnightness. The reason why I think we can rock this out early morning on a Saturday is because this podcast should only be 5 minutes long.
Yes.
When you look at the stats of the Patriots and Dolphins last week, there's not a lot that is like explosively dominant. It's a subtle, easy win for New England last week, and even without Edmunds and Milano, I expect that to happen again.
Yeah,
for us this week.
Plus, it's a team that Josh Allen just dominates.
It mostly is a different team from last year. I mean, we're looking at another newly constructed offensive line where they brought in some guys. They drafted a left tackle. They're suspect on the right side. This is definitely going to be a game where our defensive line needs to make up for our weakness at linebacker, but our strength in the secondary overwhelmingly dominates Miami's wide receiver core, and there might be some plays to their young tight end Gesicki, but honestly, I think this would be a situation where you might put Hyde on him instead of a linebacker, and just let our corners just take care of a hobbled Devontae Parker. Looking at what we were able to do last week, we only pressured Darnold on 20% of his dropbacks, where closer to 30% is elite. I'm thinking that's mostly game plan because here's a quarterback last week that does poorly no matter what, and I think we have another situation here. Fitzpatrick threw 3 interceptions last week, so.
And then they came when he was under no pressure whatsoever.
Yeah,
so you now got that two different types. So it's not just pressurizing Fitzpatrick that we can do. We can even just do soft coverage. Because also, since the start of 2019 season, the Bills have only allowed 16 pass touchdowns, which is tied second fewest in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So even without the linebackers we got, and we'll talk about that briefly shortly, you're looking at that and actually seeing that we don't have to put that pressure on. As long as our front four can interchange and actually at least work their offensive line, then we should be all good to go.
Yeah, like I said, with Devontae Parker limping because of a hamstring, they might try and establish the run against a weak linebacking core of the Bills, but I mean, the Patriots don't have any linebackers either. They lost one to COVID. They lost one to Miami in Van Noy, but their top 2 free agents in the running game, Jordan Howard and Matt Breida, were held to 13 carries for 29 yards combined. So I think that this is a situation where Ed Oliver and Hyde and Poyer should be able to get in there and stop those guys from getting anywhere. The only worry that I would have for this game is that if we give Miami a short field, and that's going to be Josh Allen protecting the football, and this is a non-conversation, this is stuff that people talk about when they don't do any research. The Bills need to protect the football or else they're not going to do well. No shit. That's
Yeah.
every team in the NFL. I mean, you listen to Colin Cowherd talk about how it's going to be hot in Miami. The Bills are a cold weather football team. They're not going to adjust properly. Like, who says stupid shit like that?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, these guys mostly are from Texas and California. If anything, they hate playing in Buffalo. They're going to love playing in Miami. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely try and stay away from like blanket statements like that. But yeah, if I do trust our defense still without Edmunds and Milano, that if Josh does turn the ball over, we should be able to hold Miami to field goals. The
Yeah.
most important thing that we can do is be consistent on offense. And what do you think? I know what your answer is because you're a disgusting eternal optimist. But last week against the Jets, were we truly good, or were the Jets just that bad?
Can I say a combination of both?
That's it. No, that's a cop out. You have to pick one or the other. Can be both, honestly.
I
When you
think
look at what our offense did last year to start the season against the Jets, against the Giants, against Cincinnati, they didn't get going until the fourth quarter. So
I
offense
think
looks completely retooled and in sync. If they can stay that way, then we shouldn't be able to. We shouldn't have to worry about what weaknesses we have on defense. We should be up by like 24 at halftime. But
yeah.
I mean, how do you see the Bills' offense right now that so far this season?
Obviously that question. I would say I'm not as much as we jump on the Jets and squish and just trash them all the time. If it was a case that the Jets defense last week was that bad, we would have actually steamrolled them in the first half. I think it is a case that the offense has got a hell of a lot better, obviously with Diggs on there, and as we always say, the continuity. I think for the first few weeks, I think I'm gonna continually say the word continuity for it. I just think it's the offense has got a lot more better, and yes, we left points on the board through some fault of our own, some external factors on there. But
Yeah, I mean, if you look at those two fumbles and the missed field goal, that was a good field goal. You have 17 points probably on the board, and
yeah,
then it is a halftime route like we're talking about. So
I mean, he had what? He had a 71% percentage. Josh Allen, 104.6 quarterback rating last week.
mhm.
I mean, Bills had their three wide receivers on the field for all but one of their offensive snaps against the Jets, and had four wide receivers out there on 29% of the snaps. So compare that to last year, where we're pretty much running the ball, maybe having one or two set wide receivers. It shows that there's been a lot of progress and a lot of evolvement. God, look at me pushing out a word like that this time in the morning. But
I don't think that's a word.
well, it's a word that I don't use very much,
I think okay. I
and
think
it's
you would have evolution.
oh, for fuck's sake! Why'd you have to ruin it like that, man? It's early in the morning. I said a good
my
word.
wife tells me all the time that I just need to shut up sometimes. So I should have done it. So sorry.
But I mean, the one other thing before obviously we move on in this offense, it's a quote by one of the guys at Buffalo Fanatics, which really actually spoke to me, by Pierre Kingpin. He goes, living life afraid to make mistakes has its safe places, but will ultimately resort to the lack of success. Go after it and let the chips fall where they may. Hashtag Team Run Josh Allen. Obviously, the amount of people actually going on about how, and we mentioned this on the last show, how Josh Allen should stop all these runs. it's learning from the mistakes on there. Obviously, he's still going to do it. And you saw what Cam Newton did against him.
Yeah,
That
he went
defense.
15 carries for 75 yards. It comes down to being a smart running quarterback.
Yeah. You
can see Tyrod Taylor do it so well last week for the Chargers, running out of bounds, sliding. Josh fights for yards, and he
that's his
initiates contact sometimes. And I get that you're young, but you have to be smart and you have to follow your coaching. And I'm pretty sure Daboll's not saying, "Hey, Allen, run towards the pile."
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that really that he needs to think about. I mean, I said still run it. Obviously, in the end, in the red zone, having Josh Allen as another running target, that's going to be big. Obviously, a bit further infield, avoid the designed runs. If he has to scramble, he has to scramble. But I just think it's people just. I think what he needs to do is just learn to slide or go out of bounds rather than fight for extra yards. I understand he's a hungry quarterback. He wants to do well for the team. He wants to get those extra few yards, even if it means having an easier field goal attempt on there. But I think that's why he fumbles. I think any other design type runs, he usually goes out of bounds, or I've not seen him slide once for a long time. But he knows he can do it. I just think it's just his pride and his ego that's actually that's pushing him to actually gain those extra yards.
What's worse, a fumble or an interception? Because when you talk about quarterbacks and their turnovers, you can look at a guy like Brett Favre who threw so many interceptions. And I think it helps to have a strong defense to be able to stop teams on a short field, but I feel like fumbles just feel worse than interceptions do. I don't know. What do you think?
I think interceptions are worse because with interceptions, they can take it back 10 yards, 20 yards. They can take it back to the
good point. Yeah,
to house. With fumbles, when you fumble it, you're going to be near to that person that you can just quickly grab around or even try and reach and grab that ball in.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, but one other thing that I was thinking about was let's maybe give the ball to the guys who are supposed to run the football. I mean, the Patriots were able to Dolphins last week at 5.16 yards per carry. I know a lot of that was Newton. I mean, when Michelle and Burkhead and James White ran the ball, they were a bit ineffective. But let's try and open it up. I mean, if we're gonna go 4 wide, work the draw game. Don't keep Moss or Singletary in there to pass protect. Drop back, act like you're gonna throw the ball, then hand the ball off. That moves the linebackers back. Is it more of just? It was our offensive line last week that weren't opening holes for our running backs. So work the screen game more. If you do that early, because looking at Miami's defense, they really spent their offseason upgrading their secondary. They had Xavier Howard, who's good. They added Byron Jones, who's a Pro Bowler from Dallas, and they drafted a slot DB. Their safeties are average, but I think game script would be run the ball early, set up play action for later in the game. This probably will be closer than you think, just because, I mean, the Patriots-Dolphins game was only 21-11. It was 14-3 after the third quarter. So they played them tight. But again, New England's offense is also just figuring itself out. They don't have this passing game as we do. So I think this will be a better test for Miami's defense because we're an offense who is in sync. I just want to see us. I was gonna say, be more, conservative and protect the ball, but I want to also just see us chuck it and put up 40. I mean, who doesn't? Right? But it just depends on if I think that the Dolphins defense can handle that, and I don't think looking at last week's game, Dolphins Patriots, is a good litmus test for what their defense can do. Because on paper, they really upgraded their whole team. And I think that the Patriots' defensive scheme was able to hold Miami's offense, and ours should as well. There's just a little bit of a worry in the back of my head about Miami's defense really stopping our passing game, and if our run game can't figure it out like they couldn't last week, I'm thinking this is much closer than it should be.
I think with the run game, I'm not going to put it down to the O line actually not actually opening up the gap. The Jets have always been that good run stopping defense, and it's actually shown in their stats last season, even though they were getting hammered in the air.
Second best rush defense.
I think this one. I think you're right. It's going to be a bit close. I think with missing Edmunds, Milano, and Delshon Phillips for the game, I think it's going to be a lot closer. Even with those three back, I would have still said it would be a close game, because Miami are just one of those teams that in the last 2 seasons they've actually just retooled that offense, and in Flores they've got a really good young coach, and obviously they've got Changeli, who is a good offensive coordinator with Fitzpatrick, and those two have actually worked with each other previously. So there's a lot of stuff. And as much as we always like to hate on the Dolphins, there's a lot of likes and lots of similarities of what they're trying to do to what Buffalo did when McDermott and Bean first came over. So it's going to be one of these really good games, a close game, but obviously at the end of the day, it's going to see the Bills actually come out on top.
Yeah, I just think if our defense can be aggressive, we can force Fitzpatrick into turnovers. Like I said, 3 interceptions. He fumbled last week, but didn't lose it. I know that I'm saying that we're going to play it close, but I have no doubt in my mind that this is a win for the Bills. It's a combination of their defense looking decent and us not being able to run the ball well is what's leading me to saying this game will be close. But I'm not worried about Miami's offense because Parker's injury, even though Edmunds and Milano are out. I'm leaning towards something like the score last week, 27-14, where Miami, sure, go score a fourth quarter touchdown. Who cares what the score is at the end of the game, as long as it looks like the game is in control. And we should be able to do that. I do just want to see us control the game on the ground to be able to not rely on our defense because of the injuries.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've on our group chat, there's a load of people that actually said that they're now worried about this game. Twitter saying they're kind of nervous the fact that we haven't got any of the we haven't got Milano, Edmonds, or anything like that. But it's a sneakily good depth, even though who's behind Milano, AJ Klein, Tyler Matakevich, all that. They're still decent players, and they're coached well in McDermott's whole roster and under Leslie Frazier. That Dodson has actually shown flashes, especially in the Jets game, that he can actually at least solidify that middle linebacker. And people may not see it the way I see it, but Dion Lacey, his re-signing, yes, they could have got Corey Thompson, they could have got Voshon Joseph. The Dion Lacey signing is an underrated signing because he's been in that Bill system for the last couple of years, so he knows most of the plays on there. And if they actually if they bring him up, we'll have to wait till Sunday to find that out. If they bring him up, you've got that replacement on special teams, which would have been Delshon Phillips. So I think that was a sneakily good signing, even though he was, as people like to call him, like a third string linebacker. So I'm not at all worried about that linebacking core. I think it's well coached and well drilled anyway, and the talent around. I mean, say you've got Hyde, Poyer, White, you've got the front four, which can actually
It's just like
can take the pressure off.
It's a rotation of 6 guys up there. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
the line is 5.5, and I expect the Bills to cover. I just I don't want it to be ugly. This is a team that you're supposed to put away if you want to be legit.
Yeah.
Have games like Baltimore destroying Cleveland. Have games like like last week. Where you don't fumble and you put up points.
Yeah. I'm actually really looking forward to see this offense now. Because I mean, yes, with what the Miami have actually brought onto their defense, we all know what Shaq Lawson can do.
Yeah, he can only play half a game though. So game script will probably dictate Shaq Lawson play more, because I imagine they're going to be Miami should be playing from behind, so they're going to want to get to the quarterback and force pressure. But I mean, at the end, but honestly, I mean, the reason why we let Shaq go is because he wasn't worth that contract, and he's only a part-time player. So I'm not worried about the Dolphins putting pressure on Josh. I'm worried about Josh doing Josh things.
I mean, it's good because, as I said earlier, with the with this offense and how it is, we had Diggs and Brown actually went for over 60 yards each. Obviously, Brown finishing with 70 yards, Diggs 86. You also got the likes of Beasley, Knox in there, so this offense is going to be scarily good against it. And Josh Allen, he's had, in his 4 career games versus the Dolphins, he's had 10 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, this absolutely is his favorite team to play against. On paper, I wouldn't expect Brown and Diggs to do the same thing. I would more think that you might see a lot of McKenzie doing doing the sweep plays.
Then again, you're looking at it.
When we do our review show, I hope the focus just is on, wow, that was easy, and not, wow, Edmunds and Milano hurt us. Because that shouldn't happen against this team who, like I said, they're 4 of the 5 guys on the offensive line are new, just like the Jets were. We need to get better than 20% pressure. The devil's going to be in the details for this game. And if you just look at the box score, you might look at, like, the Jets game, you look at the box score, and you're like, wow, that was closer than it should have been. That's probably what a lot of the national guys are doing because they didn't watch the whole game. But we dominated that game, and we should be able to do the same thing here. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, we're just basically to the point where we're repeating ourselves. This game should be completely in control. And this is a place where I'm not used to speaking from. I'm saying, the Bills are going to do something. It should be close. They're still trying to figure things out, but we're past that, which is uncharted territory for all of us.
I think this quote by Brian Flores actually sums it up about the Bills. He says, when you've got 2 outstanding receivers on the perimeter, it's hard to load up on the run game. They do a good job really in all areas, the tight ends, the backs, the scheme. I don't think it'll all just be run, or the quarterback runs, or all passes. And I mean, with last season, John Brown went in the 2 games, 14 catches, 220 yards, and 3 touchdowns, including in Miami, 9 catches, 137 yards, and a 2 touchdown performance. So I got successful last week. Before we end this, I was successful last week with the hot take.
You were. Congratulations on that.
I'm tempted to do another hot take this year. I could do one for this year, but I'll do it for this week. That Josh Allen, or I'm going to do 2. Josh Allen throws for another 300 game.
You're just getting real excited, aren't you?
And one of Diggs or Brown will get over 100. Will get over 100 yards.
I'll
would.
counter that by saying this isn't a hot take, but this is I want to see Singletary or Moss get 100 yards. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think it'll happen, but I think that if that can happen, that means that we controlled the game, and that's where we can blow a team out, is when we can control the ball on the ground.
Yeah.
Because then that opens up play action, and that'll allow Diggs or Brown to get open down the field, probably away from the corners and towards their weak safeties. And that should be the game script, where you might see the game close at halftime, and then we blow it up in the third quarter. That's what I want to see, and that's what I think would happen if I was Dable. Because you can't just be like, let's win the game at halftime. Even though the game might be close, don't get discouraged. I'm predicting, close at halftime, and then we really blow it up in the second half with adjustments.
Just need to get over the third quarter slump, and we'll be fine. Because it seems like we don't come out.
That might be what it looks like, but that's not a real thing. It just is a coincidence.
But we'll see. I mean.
So do you have a score?
I'm gonna say 30-17.
I'll take it. I'm leaning more 27-14. It's basically the same thing, give or take a few field goals. But
yeah, I can see Miami putting up a few more points than the Jets did on us.
I don't know. I can't. I mean, they don't have a running game, and their best wide receiver is hurt. After Devontae Parker, there's nothing there. Preston Williams, maybe, I don't know, but I mean, we have depth at corner. We'll be fine.
Yeah, but then they've got Jordan. I said they've got Jordan Howard. He's actually he has come into his own a little bit on there.
No, I don't know, man. I don't.
Then
think
he
was good 2 years ago. He like I said, he did nothing last week. I think he had like 8 carries. He had 8 carries for like 7 yards. It was embarrassing. He scored a touchdown, so congratulations on that.
You just can't rule out what Fitz can do, because remember he doesn't just throw, he can actually run as well. Plus, I want to know if they actually used their new tradee signing, Lynn Bowden. If they use him, then I'm excited for that, because that's the guy I really want to see. I really wanted the Bills to draft. It was obviously Steve Johnson.
Fitz in Miami against Buffalo is pretty decent. He's got like a 4 touchdown to 1 interception ratio. But the Fitz is a guy who can't beat a good defense. So
True.
He's a guy who can be exciting, but then just do silly stuff at times. And he's easily. Yeah. I think that if we can really, talent wins in the end, and we have more talent. So the only thing that can beat us is coaching, and I don't think it's going to happen either.
Okay, so you dismissed Jordan Howard on there.
Absolutely.
They also have Matt Breida.
Okay.
And you know what he did in San Francisco last year? So
yeah, he sat out half of each game because he's so fragile.
But then in that half games, he actually did well. So I wouldn't sleep on the Dolphins offense. I think it's a lot better than the Jets offense. But then again, the Jets are coached by Adam Gase.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So anyway,
yeah.
So
I know it's just tough to give Miami any credit, because since we've had Josh Allen, we've been able to dominate them home and away, whatever. Based off of, I mean, like I said, we talked to the Patriots guys. Their defense is missing a lot of pieces, and they were able to completely own Miami. So that's why I'm not worried. We have a better defense than New England does, even without Milano and Edmunds. So this should be easy.
Yeah. So we're coming into it. Week 2 coming up. We're both going for dominant Bills wins. We'll have our review show more than likely Monday, possibly, because I know you're going back to Buffalo Sunday night.
Yeah. So we can do the review show Monday morning.
Yeah. So get those questions in during the game, before the game, if there's other questions you want to ask, because we'll be answering your questions again. Hit that like button or that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Buffalo Bills UK. Hit the follow button on @UK_Bills on Twitter and @RWBB_podcast on Twitter. Find the group Buffalo Bills UK on Facebook and on Instagram, UK_Bills. Keep all your support and love coming through. And have you got a final word for the listeners, Alex?
Yeah, let us know what you think. I mean, are you worried because of the injuries, or are you confident because it's Miami? So let us know on Twitter. Let's continue the conversation, and let us know what you think.
Awesome. So for a very sleepy Alex, I am sort of tired.
Sleepy Matt.
A sort of sleepy.
All right,
Matt. It's good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Enjoy week 2 where we go and squish the fish.
Dolphins aren't fish.
And enjoy, and we'll say go Bills.
Go Bills.